Hey guys, it's Tim from Mag Gear Arcade back with another music countdown, and today I felt that it was appropriate to do this one in response to all the metalhead gatekeepers who made a big stink a week or two ago about Stranger Things exposing Gen Z to Metallica. I don't know why some people are upset over this. I mean, Guitar Hero literally did the same thing for millennials 15 years ago and nobody cared. But anyway, as you may have guessed, in this video we're counting down all 10 studio albums of the mighty Metallica. I'll skip the bio since the band really needs no introduction, and for this list we're only counting the main LPs, which means live albums like S&M, cover albums like Garage Inc., and collaboration albums like Lulu are excluded. Besides, that one's probably even worse than our bottom pick. But with that being said, let's jump right into the countdown. Starting off our countdown at the bottom spot is, you guessed it, Sane Anger. Every man, woman's child, and their grandmother has heard the horror stories about how awful this record is. The drums literally sound like trash cans, the production is shit, the songs are shit. There's literally nothing good here, and it's really a shame because this was supposed to be the big comeback album after they were on the verge of breaking up and going through band therapy and all that. 2003 was supposed to be their year. Robert Trujillo had just joined the band, MTV had honored them with their yearly Icon special, and they embarked on an epic stadium tour, and then this piece of shit came out and ruined everything. Sane Anger, needless to say, 1 out of 5. At number 9 we have Load. Released in 1996, this began a really awkward time for Metallica, where they began to shift from metal to a more hard rock sound. They also began to experiment with elements of country, blues, and rockabilly, which just left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Yeah, Metallica really lost their way in the late 90s and were a totally different band. But that's not to say that there isn't a couple good songs on here. Singles Until It Sleeps and Hero of the Day might not have held up that well over time, but still some of the better tracks on here, as well as King Nothing, Ain't My Bitch, deep cuts like Bleeding Me, and the closer of The Outlaw Torn are two of the band's setlist staples. Another huge flaw that Load has is that it's too long, which only adds to its low rating of 2 out of 5. At number 8 we have Hardwired to Self-Destruct. We're gonna play one off the new album! Released in 2016, I really don't care much for this album aside from the opener Hardwired and the closer Spit Out the Bone. I do have a soft spot for tracks like Now That We're Dead and Am I Savage, since they're both featured on WWE programming, and songs like Halo on Fire and Moth Into the Flame are both live crowd pleasers. The end result is just a very phoned-in delivery that could have been much better. Just like Load, this album suffers from being too long, but at least it sounds like a traditional Metallica album. Still, it's a 2 out of 5. At number 7, appropriately enough, we have the band's 7th album, Reload. Released in 1998, this is essentially Load Part 2, but it's a big step in the right direction. The songs are heavier, and gone are the experimental elements from the previous album. Right away, you're treated to a double banger with the album's 2 singles, Fuel and The Memory Remains, both being fan favorites and setlist staples to this day. The Unforgiven Part 2 and Attitude are also both good tracks, and I really like Carpe Diem Baby, which has to be one of the band's most underrated songs ever. This would also be Jason Newsted's last album before he departed the band in 2000.
He fucking left the band! He fucking left the band!
But yeah, this album's not quite a classic, but it was a big step from the previous record. 3 out of 5. At number 6 we have Kilamal, Metallica's debut album released in 1983, as well as the first of 2 albums to feature writing credits from Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. I know a lot of people are going to be mad that I put this one so low, but let's face it, this record hasn't quite aged as well as some of their other classics. We'll talk about those later. But when this first came out in '83, it was the greatest thing ever. Metallica had yet to evolve and mature into the band that they are today, and while their constant reminders of we're real metal and we're not like those glam posers approach to their lyrics and songwriting are kind of blunt and do get old, still, this is an awesome album. I can't really say anything bad about it. Every song is great, it's just jam-packed with fan favorites. The Four Horsemen, Anesthesia aka Cliff Burton's bass solo, Whiplash, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, and Seek and Destroy are all amazing, and they only help to showcase a taste of things to come. So yeah, Kill 'Em All, great debut, 4 out of 5. At number 5 we have Death Magnetic. Released in 2008, this served as Metallica's redemption after a number of questionable releases and easily their best album since, well, our number 4 pick, which we'll talk about later, at least in many others' opinions. But yeah, this was the band's true comeback album and everything that Sane Anger should have been. It's classic Metallica at its finest while offering some fresh new elements that just worked. There's not a bad song on here besides maybe Suicide and Redemption, which is easily the worst instrumental the band has ever put out. But other than that, this was a great back-to-basics record. It even helped them win a Grammy and exorcised the 20-year demon that had haunted the band, as well as starring in their own Guitar Hero game the following year. Death Magnetic gets a 4 out of 5. At number 4 we have And Justice for All. Released in 1988, this was the first album after the tragic death of original bassist Cliff Burton, and the first to feature Jason Newsted on bass. Well, sort of. I really wanted to put this one higher since it's probably my favorite Metallica album with the exception of maybe our number 1 pick, but as many of you know, it suffers from a major flaw, and that is lack of a bass track. Yeah, that's right. Apparently Lars Ulrich wanted his drums so loud that the bass couldn't even be heard in the final mix, and Jason was furious. Still, this is an amazing record. It's the album that gave us One, and right from the beginning, you get the 1-2 punch of Blackened and the title track. The Shortest Straw and Harvester of Sorrow are both great deep cuts. To Live Is to Die is a great instrumental and a beautiful tribute to Cliff, and Dire As Eve is a solid closer. And Justice for All gets a 4 out of 5. At number 3, we have the Black Album. Released in 1991, to this day is still Metallica's most successful and polarizing album to date. When this one came out, a lot of longtime fans were turned off by the more mainstream sounding approach to the songs, while at the same time bringing in a whole new group of fans. But yeah, all the big hits are here, like Enter Sandman, Sad But True, Nothing Else Matters, The Unforgiven, and Wherever I May Roam still get a lot of radio play to this day. It's easy to write off the Black Album as the sellout record, but there's actually a lot of great songs aside from the singles. Holier Than Thou, Through the Never, and Of Wolf and Man are all amazing deep cuts. Struggle Within might not be the typical closer, but still great nevertheless. So yeah, beneath the overplayed mega hits is a great album that deserves a listen. 4 out of 5. At number 2 we have Ride the Lightning, the first of Metallica's back-to-back masterpieces and the second to feature writing credits from Dave Mustaine. The band managed to find their identity and signature sound on this record, and it's absolutely flawless. Fight Fire with Fire and The Call of Cthulhu are Metallica's best opening and closing tracks ever. For Whom the Bell Tolls and Fade to Black are fan favorites, as well as the title track and Creeping Death. Ride the Lightning, it's an absolute must-listen, 5 out of 5. And finally, at our number 1 spot is none other than Master of Puppets. Hailed by some as the greatest heavy metal album of all time, this record is indeed a masterpiece. There's not a dull moment on here that'll make you even consider hitting the skip button. Every song is amazing. Battery, the title track, The Thing That Should Not Be, Welcome Home, Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah, the epic 8+ minute instrumental Orion, and the crushing closer Damage Incorporated make for an album that has stood the test of time and inspired generations of metalheads. Sadly, this would also be the final record to feature the late Cliff Burton on bass, but at least it was Metallica's best work yet. 5 out of 5. Well guys, that's every Metallica studio album ranked. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe for more gaming, music, and geek culture content, and I'll see you next time.
He fucking left the band!